Good evening, members of the Council. I call on my chaplain to lead us in prayer.
Holy Week and Easter are still very fresh in my mind, so I'm borrowing an ancient and wonderful prayer from the Church's Good Friday liturgy for our prayers this evening. Let's first hold in our hearts Elizabeth and local authorities of this land, those who administer the law and all who serve in public office, all who strive for justice and reconciliation, and our longing for the world to live in peace and freedom. Let us hold in our hearts people of all faiths and of none, our longing for the removal of all blindness and bitterness of heart amongst us, and for all to dwell together in mutual love and peace. Let us hold in our hearts all those who suffer, those who are deprived and oppressed, all who are sick or in darkness, in doubt or in despair, all who are in loneliness and in fear, all at the point of death and those who watch beside them, and our longing that God in his mercy will sustain them with the knowledge of his love. And with the story of God's new life fresh in our minds, let us pray. Dear Lord, let the whole world see and know that things which were cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old are being made new, and that all things are being brought to their perfection by him through whom all things were made, for your own name's sake. Amen. And if you wish to, please join me in praying the prayer which Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen.
Please be seated. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillors Safine Ashad, Cheryl Billingham, Steve Walthow and Margaret Wilson. Are there any further apologies for absence?
Councillor Casey.
Casey. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest under the Members' Code of Conduct regarding the business to be considered at this meeting have been distributed around the Council chamber. Interests previously disclosed by members at meetings are recorded in the minutes of the White Book. All of these interests will be taken as read. They are deemed as repeated at this Council meeting. I now invite members to declare any additional interests. No? Minutes. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 23rd of February and the 2nd of March 2015 be approved as a correct record and signed. Does the Council agree? That is carried. Mayor's announcements. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the Council's planning and regeneration teams have received the National Placemaking in the Midlands Awards. I call on Councillor Judy Foster to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really pleased to report that on the 31st of March this year, Dudley Council's planning and regeneration teams were awarded a National Placemaking Award in the Midlands category for delivering the vision for Dudley Town Centre, and it was actually the first prize in that category. As many people will know, because we've heard about how the work has developed over the last few years, the project is based on 10 years of hard work to implement the strategy to drive the regeneration of the town centre by building on the historic importance of Dudley. The strategy proposed repairing and restoring the town's historic fabric through a £65 million package of public sector spending in a £200 million pipeline of development based on heritage-led regeneration. Our team were one of 7 finalists in this category, beating submissions from amongst others, including Coventry and Walsall, also in the region. So, Madam Mayor, I'd like to congratulate the regeneration team and give you Rupert Dundell and Helen Martin thanks to them and their staff for all their hard work.
I call on representatives of the teams to come forward to receive their award. The annual charity cricket match will be on Friday the 12th of June 2015 at the Memorial Ground in Amblecote, Stourbridge, starting at 6 p.m. Please reserve the date in your diary and contact Councillor Anif for further details. This year's St George's Day event will be in Hales Owen Town Centre on Saturday the 25th of April from 10:30 to 3. Everyone is welcome to come and enjoy the activities. Can I also take the opportunity to thank members for supporting the Mayor's Ball and all contributions to my charity funds. Finally, this is the last meeting of the Council before the elections. Councillor Safin Ashed, Cheryl Billingham, David Cornt, Bob James, Ian Murray, Pat Martin and Ken Turner will not be seeking re-election on the 7th of May 2015. I would like to place on record my appreciation of the dedicated public service given by those members and express my sincere best wishes for the future. Now, if members would like to pay tribute to the retiring members. Councillor Patrick Harley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, many members give up time that could be spent with loved ones. They get penalised for it if they work full time. And if they work for themselves like some members do, that work also suffers to the ever-increasing demands put upon us when we do this role in a competent and efficient manner. So to all members who are retiring, can I thank them for their service to this council and to their individual groups and, of course, their constituents. Ian Murray, Madam Mayor, is once in a while there's a member who gets elected who commands respect from all sides of the chamber. I believe that Ian is one of those few members that all sides, I think, have a lot of respect for. And that's not because of his politics. We on this side would disagree with his politics, but because of his honesty, his integrity, and the way in which he's conducted himself as an elected member. He's certainly got respect from this side of the chamber. So, thank you, Ian. Reference Ken Turner. Ken has made a valuable contribution over the last 13 years to this chamber. Didn't hesitate at all when I became opposition leader to put Ken in the Shadow Cabinet with a Regen Shadow brief. He understands regeneration, and his contribution to future debates on regeneration will be missed in this chamber. Whatever differences members have with Ken in this chamber, regeneration is a brief that he knows extremely well, and I wish him well in his retirement as an elected member. Reference Pat Martin. Pat has been a Dudley councillor since the year 2000, and she served a full 5 years in the Cabinet from 2003 to 2008. Her proudest moment must surely be in 2009, when she became Mayor of the Borough of Dudley. Seeing Pat and her late husband Bill turn up to many functions, I know that they carried out that duty with absolute pride and did this borough very proud. Not only that, but Pat has also organised many dinners for the Conservative group over many years, and she will be really missed from this side of the chamber. Reference Bob James. Bob, like Pat, has been a member since 2000. For many years, Bob served within the statutory committees, such as licensing, TPO and development control. But I think Bob's strength on this council has come from his role in housing. He really does understand the role of a cabinet member or shadow within this council. And as a mark of respect to Bob, he served opposite 3 Labour cabinet members for housing. And I think it would be fair to say all 3 have worked very well with Bob. Not only do I think they respect his views, but they've also asked him for advice from time to time. And I think that is the greatest respect when your opposite number has such a good working relationship. So, Bob, you will be missed, and I wish you all the best. Finally, David Cornt. David Cornt has been an elected member since I was 4 years old. So when he says he was giving speeches in here when many of us were still in nappies, he's not far wrong. He served Sedgley for all of that time, and irrespective of our political views across the chamber, anyone who's done 45 years in one ward without a break, that deserves our respect and our thanks. David, prior to becoming leader of his group, had a good apprenticeship within the council. He earned his spurs being the lead for social services, finance and education. In between, he found time to become the Mayor of Dudley in 1983-4. And apologies, please, to mayors past and present. But that's the role they usually give to you when they want to get rid of you. Now, David didn't take the hint, and after he finished as mayor, he came back not only as group leader, but in 2003, he became leader of the council. And of course, under David's leadership in 2004, the Conservatives took outright control of the council and held control for almost 10 years. And he took the council from what was a failing authority at the time into one that was recognised nationally as a council that was competent financially and well run. Having stepped down as leader in 2009, he has continued to serve the Conservative group and has been there to offer successive leaders good advice. Never interfering, just good advice. He's one of the few in this chamber that can debate without notes, and he's one of the few that when he speaks, members of all sides actually listen to what he has to say. Having served this authority for
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'll attempt to be fairly brief because there's quite a few established and councillors to get through. First things, Madam Mayor, we certainly don't want to move you anywhere after your year, so don't believe a word that the Leader of the Opposition will tell you. First things first, Councillor Pat Martin. Councillor Pat is one of the few people I can honestly stand up here to say that I've attempted to take Pat on and I've failed miserably. And I've failed on a number of occasions. Pat was the first person I served my apprenticeship with, standing in the seat of Amblecote, and I very quickly moved on from Amblecote with my tail between my legs, knowing not to take on such a ferocious opponent. Pat has epitomised to me what public service is, not only serving Madam Mayor in Dudley with distinguished, but actually previously coming to Dudley, having served for many years in North Bedfordshire. Her year as Mayor will always be remembered by my children and indeed the people that she came into contact with. An absolute credit to Dudley Metropolitan Borough. And I wish you, Pat, absolutely all my best wishes. I hope I can still kiss you on the cheek when I see you in public, and I still have you as an undecided for May the 7th. Moving on to Bob James. Now again, the epitome of all these people we're going to go through, they sum up public service. Myself and Bob have served on a couple of committees, and I think, as Patrick outlined, nothing epitomises Bob better than within the housing brief, and I believe has had the utmost respect from those who've covered. What many people on the outside don't see is, for a significant proportion, we put party politics to one side in order to serve the interests of the people of Dudley. And nobody will epitomise that better than Bob James. And I wish you all the very best, Bob. Councillor Ken Turner. What can we say? When I first came onto the council, Ken was chair of Regeneration. I think, exactly as Councillor Turner outlined, has been a ferocious advocate of regeneration, not just of the jewel in the crown, but for the whole of Dudley. I wish him absolutely the best, and despite our very different political opinions, and I'm not sure which direction you're going in, Ken, but I think it's quite clear to say that you will be an absolute loss to this council chamber, because one of the things that many of us will meet on the doorstep is the importance of independent mind, and Ken had that in abundance. Safina Arshed, who can't be with us for reasons that a few of us know, could have been a fantastic councillor within this chamber if she hadn't been affected with the health that she had been. Cheryl Billingham, who can't be here this evening because she's looking after a 95-year-old, has seen the light in her latter years serving as a councillor. I thank her for that, because I had the hots for a daughter many years ago, Ruth, and now I can look Cheryl in the eye and say, not only do I fancy your daughter, we also share the same politics going forward. Councillor Corns, a councillor since just after my umbilical cord was cut. An absolute credit to this council chamber. Has served not just within this chamber, but outside at a regional and a national level. If anybody epitomises Dudley's first citizen through selfless work both as mayor, then returning as leader, we need look no further than Councillor Corns. I think he will continue to miss this council chamber, but I wish him all the very best in the future. And that leads me, with the last 30 seconds, just for my best mate sitting behind me. I think he's made the wrong decision to leave this council chamber, and I hope that he returns. Is the one councillor I've ever known that entered the council chamber looking fairly chunky and will leave this council chamber looking significantly slimmer than when he first entered. And he's leaving this council chamber, in the words of Tony Benn, to concentrate on politics. A massive thank you to each and every one of you. You richly deserve it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish all the members well in their prospective futures. My own short talk is for Pat Martin in my own ward of Amblecote. I had the privilege of meeting Councillor Martin around 11 months ago, as most would understand, and in the short time I found her to be an honest, direct and a very intelligent character. She, like my other ward colleague, is and has been a pleasure to work with when larger issues have arisen on the ward. I've enjoyed our in-depth chats that we've had at her home, even more after discovering our kindred interest for history and politics alike. I wish Pat a well-deserved long and healthy retirement, and on behalf of Amblecote, I want to thank her for her years of hard work that has been committed to our ward. Thank you, Councillor Martin. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well done, mate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank all the members basically who's retiring and wish them all the very best for their futures. To stand up in this council and represent their own ward is tremendous, and it does take a lot of your time. The first councillor I'd like to thank is Councillor Pat Martin. Everything she's done in this council has been a top professional attitude, and the organisation she does for this party is absolutely tremendous. We shall certainly miss her. As far as Ken Turner is concerned, Ken is very unpredictable as far as council is concerned, but quite an intelligent man. All he needs to do is control it. But I do wish you all the very best, Ken. But most of all, my friend and colleague, Councillor Corns. Councillor Corns has done a tremendous amount for this council and for the people of Sedgley. Can I remind a lot of people what David has done? When we took power of this council was a 2-star rating authority with little chance of improvement. In his time as leader of this council, and he's virtually lived at this council to do it, he took the council to the top award of 4-star rating authority. A tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of time, and David done a tremendous job. But not only does he do a tremendous job there, we've got the Black Country Consortium. At that time, basically, very little funds was coming into Dudley. David, with all the rest of the authorities, Wolverhampton, Sandwell, Wolverhampton, pushed the Black Country Authority forward, which resulted in more funds coming into this borough. And we've got David to thank for that. He also spent a lot of time on the police authorities. And I think he's the only person I know on that police authorities who's told the police authorities they wasn't going to get a pre-ham for that year. David always thought about Dudley, and he worked exceptionally hard for Dudley. Eventually, after David's years in Dudley, he was awarded MBE. I thought it's an honour he should have received a long time ago, to be honest with you. He certainly deserves it. And as well as being Mayor of Dudley, the #1 position in the town, which is a great position to hold, and not a way of getting rid of people, as somebody actually said a bit earlier on. To take that position on is a privilege, a great honour. And basically, you are selling Dudley, you're representing Dudley. I do wish David the very best because this council will miss him. I certainly will miss him. And on behalf of the people of Dudley and Sedgley, I'd like to thank David. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Perhaps this will stop other people getting up. I can't say I've been looking forward to tonight, but I've actually been counting the days to when I become free. And as every member of this council knows, 2 days after May the 7th, someone comes and nicks my computer back. I go off duty and remain off duty. Can I thank all those who've spoken tonight on behalf of myself and the other retiring members? Can I also thank the good people of Sedgley, who on every occasion that my name's been on the ballot paper, they've given me a resounding vote of confidence all the way back to 1970, when, believe it or not, I was first elected unopposed. And thinking in the last few weeks about this occasion, I was thinking back to 1970. Now, we've already had comments about umbilical cords and short trousers and white socks and that kind of thing. But in 1970, everything was done by letter. Phones were a rather strange thing. Very few people had telephones. And members' work was done with a letter to the relevant officer. Of course, it took you a couple of days to compose it and write it and send it. It then took the officer a couple of weeks to reply to it. It then took you another few days to actually dispute what the officer was telling you. And after a month or so, you get round to having some sense. Everything was done very slowly. There were no dreaded emails.
The computer didn't exist in 1970, and certainly not living on the 365 cloud. And the other different thing about 1970 was no one sitting in this chamber was paid. It was a totally voluntary job. But how the world has changed. Everyone has at least 2 phones. At least 2 phones. If I look at my family, they're not equipped unless they've got the 3 with them. Most people have emails, not just councillors. Most of our residents have emails. And members find themselves on duty 24/7, 52 weeks of the year. I'm not complaining about the time I've had. I've enjoyed my time in this chamber. I've moved round from seat to seat as the climate has changed and as the office has changed. I hope at the end of the day I have served the people of Dudley well. I hope I've served the people of Sedgley well. And I hope one of my lasting memories will be the Blank Country Consortium coming into its own, which has now given birth to the Local Enterprise Partnership, which I believe is a strong move to the good for the Black Country and Dudley. Madam Mayor, I've sat here for a long time and I've watched members come and go. Some going voluntarily, some coming because they've had their arms twisted up their back when we couldn't find anybody else. And some going beyond the prime of their life. Many years ago, I decided that I would not be one of those who hung on and hung on and hung on, and eventually they carted me out in a box. I'm now going to retire. I'm going to have a good time. And I'm going to start looking after myself for a change. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well done, Derek.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I concur with the comments made by previous speakers, with the exception of what they've said about myself. I never thought of. I'll perhaps agree with Councillor Evans. I am a bit unpredictable, but unpredictable by being honest. As far as Councillor Court is concerned, Madam Mayor, David is a gentleman that he and I may have shared a party together, but not always did we agree totally in the way that we were going. But I always had the most immense respect for the gentleman and the experience that David has, that I doubt if many people, if any people in this chamber will ever be able to equate. The other retiring members, I'm pleased that they will be able to have their retirement and enjoy it. Unfortunately, we've got too much work to carry on with, so we can't just sit back and take the enjoyment that David's going to be taking yet, but we will do quite soon. I would also point out, Madam Mayor, I am pleased that the Conservative, the new application for the Conservative group that is coming through, have listened that in 2010, when I stood up in this chamber and advocated a reduction in council numbers, in 2012, when I stood up and asked again and suggested that we should have a cross-party for the Cabinet so as to stop the differences when leadership changes, and again in 2013 when I proposed it, at each time, of course, the Conservatives group chastised me and opposed it. I'm glad now it's in their manifesto for their election this year. I'm also pleased, Madam Mayor, that we are looking at the possibilities of regeneration. Perhaps my one dream of Incubation Innovation Centre will be extended a little farther. We will see the regeneration swarm that will then move from that through Dudley, because it is essential that we regenerate into Dudley to provide new employment, to provide opportunities for the young and for the people with ambition and with ideas. Please give due consideration to it, get on with it, enjoy it. And to David, you've done 45 years here. Let's hope you've got another 45 years to enjoy it in a more relaxed atmosphere. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to wish Pat Martin all the very, very best and a long and happy retirement. After all the services she's done for Dudley Council, she deserves it. I know the last few years haven't been too good for you, Pat, with your health and such like, but wish you all the very, very best, and all the other retiring councillors as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to wish everybody all the best with their retirement, especially Councillor James, who is probably going to hit me after this. Really, regarding Bob, it has been a pleasure to work with him. We've definitely, myself and Councillor Cooper, had a few differences with him. And also we've had a lot of times that we've agreed on a lot of things. And I think we've worked together pretty well with some of the things we've done. And we've also with plans for the future for our area as well. It has been a pleasure. I've had lots of fun as well working with Bob, and I really will miss him. So all the best and enjoy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just like to echo what Danella's just said, really, Bob. I think the first time I met you in action, as it were, was on an area committee, I think, right? And it was rather a busy one. And you chaired it with, I'd say, customary feistiness and combative nature that I've grown to love, really. And I saw you close up on the Community First Committee. We served together on that, and I've never doubted that any decisions that you've made have been for the best of the people in Belle Vale Ward. And as a new member, you take your role models and you take your advice where you can get it, really, across the chamber. And seeing you in Dax as well, and your famous knowledge of housing and housing issues, that certainly gave me cause to learn from your activity on that committee. So again, I thank you very much for that. And so I do wish you well in your retirement, and I think the villa will be safe now. So I think you can rest easy on that, sure. But I do thank you for your public service over the years, and wish you well. Councillor Turner, again, thank you for adding to my political education, as many people have in this house. And I do wish you a happy retirement and a long and happy career. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's all a little bit overwhelming when you stand here, listening to all the nice things people say about you. It doesn't seem possible that I've been here for 15 years. It seems like yesterday. And they say time flies when you're really enjoying yourself. And my 15 years, I really have enjoyed working with everybody, officers and councillors, whatever creed they are. but the time comes when you have to go. And I think, well, I couldn't possibly do 45 years here, but I must admit I did start my counselling in 1973 over in Bedford, so, but with a big gap in between, obviously. So you'll all carry on quite happily without any of us who are going, because you always do. That's life, isn't it? Nobody is there and can't be done without, because they can. Peter, whenever I see you in future, the first thing I do will be to kiss you. Peter's got a great sense of humour and I love him to bits. And thank you everybody once again for your very kind words, and I shall miss you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well done, Pat.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to, tonight, lose a considerable amount of knowledge and organisational memory from this council. I just hope that those that are here will pick up the mantle from those. Ian, you've been a fantastic ward councillor, putting party politics aside when dealing with our ward issues, which I think is important and is paramount. Your passion for politics, especially around children's services, is clearly evident, and I think we all thank you for that. And your quiet determination as well, that you just get on with it, but you know, we know that you mean business. So you will be missed. We hope that you will come back to this council in the near future. But obviously we wish you all the best with whatever you do, and with your family as well. I'd like to thank my colleagues on this side that we're losing tonight for their support and their guidance. As I say, we're losing a considerable amount of memory, and at least we know where they are. David's not cruising off a long way off the canal. But I think we all wish them well for their future, a long and happy retirement that they all have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank for the kind words that have been said in the chamber with all the retired people who are retiring tonight. I'd like to say that I've made a lot of friends in this chamber, and thank God on all sides of the political divide. I think it's the one thing that keeps us sane sometimes as well, quite frankly. And because everybody that gets elected onto Dudley Council, they get elected to serve the community, regardless of what political party they're in. And I always say that the councillors in Dudley do that fine. I'd like to thank the electorate of Belle Vale for putting up with me for 15 years. They must be saints down in Belle Vale to put up with me for 15 years, but I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank my two ward colleagues as well for the work that we have worked together in the last 2-3 years very well. And I wish all of Dudley Council itself the best of luck for the future. Times are hard, and they're going to be even as hard whatever happens at the general election, and it means pulling together. I'd like to also wish all those people in the chamber that are standing for election this year, whether it be council, and of course this year quite an awful lot of you standing for becoming an MP as well. If you don't mind me saying, those who are standing for the MPs, I hope it's this side I'd like to wish luck to. But generally, good luck to everybody standing, and thank you very much. It's been a very enjoyable time in the last 15 years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep it short and sweet. This is just to pay my tribute to Councillor Murray, my colleague in Wollaston and good friend. It's just to say you really have made a difference to the people in Williston. Don't lose sight of that. And I really do hope that you will reconsider, and we'll see you in this chamber once again, because your talents will be missed. Thanks, Ian.
I want to just briefly say, first of all the best to everyone who's standing down and retiring. But there's 3 people I want to mention, and I'm sure at least 2 of them probably won't thank me for it, but I need to say it. First of all, Councillor Marray, from very different sides of the whole political spectrum, I must say I have a very great personal respect for the work that you've done and the way you conduct yourself. And I know my colleagues feel the same way. And I was genuinely surprised to find you not being here, but I wish you well with whatever you do. You really have impressed even your opponents. We are very, very impressed with you, and you are a man I'm sure has got a great future. So, you know, that's a heartfelt thing. Councillor Martin, Pat, I want to say, ever since I started off being involved in any kind of politics, you've always been a very kind and generous lady, and I want to apologise terribly for how badly I've parked your car outside. But, you know, you've been lovely and a real lady in the chamber, and a lady to know outside as well. And finally, I want to say that as a Sedgley person, having started my political life constantly, it seems, crossing swords with David Corns, and I know we've battled, and I've come off worse many a time, because this man personifies toughness, and he personifies a wise battler and a wily campaigner. And yeah, he's right, he absolutely walloped me when I stood against him. And there is no love lost most of the time, I'll accept it, but it would be ill-befitting of me not to say what an outstanding opponent he is, and what an outstanding councillor he has been. And I never thought I'd find myself saying this, David, and you probably won't thank me, but I think I'm going to miss you. So, because you know, you are a hard man to compete against, but I know that whatever you do, you'll do well. And that's it. I just want to say all the best to everyone standing down.
Thank you. I really wasn't going to speak. I'm a bit embarrassed. I've only been here 3 years, and when I hear some of the testimony of my colleagues, 45 years, 1970, I really was in nappies. And I think one of the things sometimes we lose sight of, and which I've learned in the short time I've been here, is that every single one of you are here for the right reasons. I have been humbled by some of the acts that I have seen, the dedication, the passion, and whether you've been here 45 years or 3. I would like to wish all of you, those of you who stay, are successful in May, those of you who may not be successful, and those of you who are standing down, thank you. I have enjoyed large parts of the last few years. There are bits of it that I found more challenging. And as my friend said, I think one of the things I've got from being a councillor is I've learned more about the place in which I live than in all the other 42 years I've lived here. It's opened my eyes to the work that the people in our community are doing, the selflessness, the things that their own time they give up to make our borough and our towns a better place. And frankly, what I intend to do is go and spend some time with them, because they have really, really inspired me over the last few years. So best of luck to all of you in whatever you do, but it's probably not going to be the last time you see me.
Thank you. Reports and recommendations. Capital Programme Monitoring, pages 1 to 7. I'll call on Councillor Pete Love.
Madam Mayor, members of the Council, I move that the report and recommendations of the Cabinet be approved and adopted.
Formally seconded, Madam Mayor.
All agreed? That is carried. Annual report on the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board, pages 8 to 14. I call on Councillor Dave Tyler.
Members of the Council, I move that the report and recommendations of the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board be received and noted.
seconder? All agreed? That is carried. Notice of motion. I call on Councillor Dean Perks to move the motion in his name and set out on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think most people, if not everyone in the chamber, will know where this was born from. An idea that I threw out on an email some months back. This motion is completely and utterly, as it does say in there, non-political. I'm an 100% Democrat. I believe in transparency, I believe in democracy, and I believe that we should all work together, as I'm sure most people in the chamber do. It's about bringing ideas to the table, talking amongst ourselves, with each other, arguing with each other if that may be the case. But from these sort of conversations, you normally find ideas do develop. I want people to walk into this chamber as councillors for these debates, not as a Labour councillor, not as a Conservative councillor, not as a UKIP councillor, or an Independent or a Green councillor, but as councillors, representatives of the people who have put their trust in you. So we can discuss things, go through things, and hopefully come up with good ideas, better ideas, because there is always a better way of doing everything. I used to work for a guy who was a massive success in the pub industry. His name was Steve Foley, and he was entrusted by Bass Brewery to turn failing pubs around, and he had a very, very simple way of doing it. He worked in every pub for 1 week. He then got what he knew was his core customer base and all his staff. He sat down with a piece of A3 paper and he called it a brainstorming session, and he took any idea, however stupid, however major, however cheap to do, however expensive, whatever, anything. He never, ever put anything in the bin. It was all a valid idea. All put down on a piece of paper. He then went away and came back with a plan. And sometimes the person who thinks they've got the most stupid idea, that stupid idea put with another idea becomes a very good idea. That's the foundation for this motion. Now, I've received and considered the proposed amendments to the motion in accordance with Council Procedure Rule 14.7, and with the consent of the meeting, I wish to alter my motion to incorporate the additional words in bold as set out on the page as circulated around the Council chamber this evening. The motion that the Council makes provision in the municipal year for 2015-16 onwards to book the Council chamber for 3 or 4 sessions per municipal year for the sole purpose of an open, non-partisan debate. Councillors can register items for debate given a suitable notice period. The Council as a whole will make the decision as to whether or not to accept the proposal to go forward for debate. Examples of possible topical issues for debate are the Hippodrome and the Combined Authority. This will not only demonstrate our clear transparency and democratic process, but will act as an informative measure for elected members. There need not be a vote following the debates, but the relevant members and officers should be present for clarification and advice. It is our job as elected members to be the conduit between the Council and the people we represent. The proposed debates will be a mechanism to improve this. It will also help progress with all members having an input into debate subjects, allowing more opinions and ideas to be put forward. These debates will not be formal council meetings, and therefore council procedure rules will not apply. The strategic director will be asked to develop informal protocols to assist in the smooth organisation and operation of the proposed debates. The debates will provide a mechanism for more members to be engaged and informed on future policy development and give their opinions on future items being reported to the Cabinet and Council. If no items arise, then the pre-booked dates can be cancelled by agreement with the group leaders. The Council therefore resolves to refer this matter to the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board to consider this proposal within the framework of the scrutiny function of the Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Peatlow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'll be fairly brief, and I'd like to thank Councillor Perks for the discussion we were able to have this afternoon with regarding, understandably, some clarifications with regard to the amendment that the group put forward. So I did agree that I would get up just to make it absolutely clear, and also conscious and grateful for the discussion I've had with the Leader of the Opposition as well. The majority of this motion we welcome. Not necessarily the wording, because I think what we recognised was that the wording could be slightly somewhat better, but importantly the intention. And the intention is about increasing debate, discussion and the opportunity to discuss. I'll be intrigued as to whether we can do it in a non-partisan way. Quite often I have difficulty even within my own group to put forward issues in a non-partisan way, and reading a lot of UKIP issues, I'm quite clear that we'd have challenges putting them up in a modern party, but that should not stop us from trying. I actually think it's an example of a newly elected member who spent a short time within the council chamber that has observed and has seen ways to improve that council procedure, and I welcome and I thank him for that. And by putting the words down, it gives us the opportunity through scrutiny to be able to bring that into the everyday mechanisms about how the council can operate. Because to name check a couple of issues that Councillor Perks mentioned, it is in everybody's interest that we sit down and discuss combined authorities. It's in everybody's interests that we sit down and discuss Dudley Hippodrome, as well as many of the other issues that we have to say and do. I've got no problem, as I know that the Leader of the Opposition, and I'm sure the Leader of UKIP, has either with us being able to sit down and have those discussions. So hopefully with the motion we can take the spirit of that forward into the scrutiny process, and look forward to the opportunity when we can sit down and have that discussion, Madam Mayor. But I would ask, following that, is whether we can then sit down and whether that discussion has actually been round on a non-partisan manner. Because if you can achieve that, Councillor Perks, you'll achieve something even the great Councillor Corn hasn't managed to do in 45 years.
We will support the amended motion. We believe that there is merit in pursuing this idea, and hopefully the overview and scrutiny process will allow further development of what can only broaden the opportunity to allow more debate and scrutiny within this chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I now call on Councillor Dean Perks to exercise his right to reply to the debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the support from all sides of the chamber. I think this is important for all of us as councillors to be able to. I think we can do it in a non-partisan way. If it's a discussion and throwing ideas in, no doubt there will be some party politics in there as well when it comes to actually deciding which ones come to a debate. But I'd like to thank the council for taking it on board and considering it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Questions under Council Procedure Rule 11. I call on members to indicate whether they wish to speak any questions in relation to the minutes and delegated decision summaries in the White Book. I will take questions in the order that a matter appear in the White Book. I will deal and dispense with one question at a time, i.e. the question and answer to it before moving on to the next question, and so on. Netherton Woodside and St Andrews and Quarry Bank and Dudley Wood Community Forum, dated the 16th of March. Gornal Upper Gornal Woodsetton Community Forum, dated the 16th of March. Cosley East and Sedgley Community Forum, dated the 17th of March. Alzowen North and Alzowen South Community Forum, dated the 17th of March. Norton, Pedmore and Stourbridge East and Wollaston and Stourbridge Town Community Forum, dated the 18th of March. Councillor Heather Rogers? Not that one. No. Okay. Castle and Priory, St James's and St Thomas's Community Forum, dated the 18th of March. King Swinford North and Whalley, King Swinford South and Worsley Community Forum, dated the 24th of March. Riley Hill and Brockmore and Pensneck Community Forum, dated the 24th of March. Councillor Blood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Reading through the notes on the Brierley Hill Brockmore Pensneck Forum, I was a little concerned that it attracted no members of the public. So 4 elected members and 2 officers spent 15 minutes chatting about the Chapel Street Estate 50th anniversary celebrations. Is it now, Madam Mayor, may I ask, time to rethink these forums? I simply ask that over the past 10 forums across the borough, only 103 members of the public in total attended, of which only 3 attracted a dozen or more members of the public. I'm aware that at the Kings Winford North and Wallheath, Kings Winford South and Worsley Forum, only 8 members of the public are listed as attendees, and of which 2 of them were candidates for the local elections. So maybe it is time to scrutinise whether the forums are a good idea in the format to which they are. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Meeting. We didn't have much debate and we were able to get home quite quickly. And yes, we do get poor attendance at ours, but we have got very active TRAs and community centre groups. So that's why I don't think we get many members of the public. And yes, I think they do need to be looked at again. If ours is anything to go by, I know some community forums do have better attendance, but it doesn't seem to work in our ward.
Abercale, Cradling, Wollaston and Lye and Stourbridge North Community Forum, dated the 25th of March. Councillor Heather Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 36, sorry. A resident requested an update on the issue of lack of public parking in Stevens Park, Wollascote. Could a copy of the request and previous issues raised about this please be sent to all members of the Ernest Stevens Trust Management Committee before the meeting to be held on Monday 20th of April? Could this be done whether the meeting is to be cancelled or not, please? The last one was cancelled. And also, could a copy of the written response also be sent to the members? The members of the Ernest Stevens Trust Committee were given the remit of all deeds of gift properties in the Dudley Borough in December 2013, and therefore need to know of any issues relating to them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Clerks to reply.
Thank you for your remarks on that, Councillor Rogers, and we'll get it back to you in writing, all the requests that you've made. Thank you.
Belvale and Alley Green and Cradley South Community Forum, dated the 25th of March. Overview and Scrutiny Management Board, dated the 26th of March. Health Scrutiny Committee, dated the 16th of February and the 26th of March. Adult Community and Housing Services Scrutiny Committee, dated the 18th of February and the 9th of March. Corporate Performance Management, Efficiency and Effectiveness Scrutiny Committee, dated the 5th of March. Children's Services Scrutiny Committee, dated the 12th of March. Appointments Committee, dated the 12th of February. Audit and Standards Committee, dated the 10th of February. Development Control Committee, dated the 24th of February and the 19th of March. No. Licensing and Safety Committee, dated the 23rd of February. Licensing Subcommittee 2, dated the 10th of February. Licensing Subcommittee 3, dated the 17th of February, the 24th of March. Taxes Committee, dated the 9th of February, the 10th of March. Dudley Health and Wellbeing Board, dated the 25th of March. The Cabinet, dated the 11th and 25th of February and the 11th of March. Delegated decision summaries involve the following members of officers. Councillor Khurshid Ahmed, decisions 1 to 5. Councillor Hilary Bills, decisions 6 and 7. Councillor Tim Crumpton, decision 8 and 9. Councillor Judy Foster, decision 10. Councillor Rachel Harris, decisions 11 to 15. Councillor Pete Lowe, decisions 16 to 17. Councillor Stuart Turner, decisions 18 and 19. Councillor Hilary Bills, decision 20. Councillor Rachel Harris, decision 21 to 24. There's no urgent business, so that concludes the meeting of the Council. I would also like to just, well, being as this is the last meeting, I would like to invite members to the parlour for refreshments.